What's up, El Paso? Welcome back to this week's episode of Annie's Adventures and Friends. I'm here with Doyle. How are you doing today, Doyle?
Terrific, Annie. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me. And you have a really cool online education system, basically for accounting. What is it? Accounting for kindergartners.
Accountingkindergarten.com.
Yes, yes. So,
Yeah.
from ages 12 to 99, let's go
That's
on and
right.
learn together. Yeah. I thought this was really cool because, again, a lot of businesses follow Annie's Adventures. Maybe you're small business and you're, like you were saying, Doyle, it's important to know about accounting. Whether you hire an accountant or not, it's always good to know about your own personal accounting. So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. We're going to teach you how to understand your own personal business accounting. And just kind of make sense of it all. For me, I started checking out your program recently, and it's really cool. It's super simple to follow. So let's go on and dive in.
Terrific.
All right, let me switch this camera around. All right. So you have your website, and on your website you have a series of slides that educates the community for free right now on how the accounting process is. And again, it's accountingkindergarten.com. Sorry, I don't know. I'm having a hard time saying kindergarten. Accountingkindergarten.com. I'll also put the link to your website there so everybody can go on and take a look and educate themselves. If you're not familiar, this is something very important. This is your money, right? And we don't want any Yolanda episodes happening here. We want everybody to know what's happening, behind the scenes, even if you hire an accountant. Okay, so go on and tell me about yourself, Doyle.
Okay. Well, I'm a native El Pasoan. Went to Bel Air High School.
Oh, cool.
Graduated from what was then Texas Western College
Okay.
in 1966, the year that we won all of the national championship. And
How
so
exciting.
forth. Yes, it was a wonderful time. The old Memorial Gym and sitting in the bleachers and stomping in the on those wooden bleachers, and it was a rocking place.
I love it. I can only imagine.
Yeah, yeah. And I was an ROTC student. I went to Vietnam during in 1967, 68.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. I was fortunate to be there as an officer. I was really out of harm's way, but we managed the military port of Saigon, unloading ships that were critical for cargo there and so forth. And I came back here in December of 1968, and I started a banking career at what was then Citizen State Bank of Isleta.
Wow.
Later became the Bank of Isleta. I started as a management trainee and, swept the floors and cleaned out the trash and so forth. And I had my degree in accounting from Texas Western, UTEP.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of worked my way up through the chairs and so forth. And by 1974, I was fortunate enough to be the president of the bank.
Wow, look at you,
Yeah.
officer in the military, president of a
Yeah,
bank. How
yeah.
very cool.
Well, I've led a blessed life. I really have. One of the things that I did as a banker was I was involved with what was then the American Institute of Banking, which taught various banking and business related courses through the El Paso Community College. And I began teaching accounting over 50 years ago.
Okay.
And so through the years, I got out of the banking business as banking changed in Texas. It became a great.
Oops, sorry about that. Someone's
Not
at
a
the front
problem.
door. We're at the studio, guys.
That's
so
all
that's
cool.
just you
It's
can
all cool.
see the cool little screen there. They just let them in. All right, sorry about that,
Yeah,
Doyle.
no problem. No problem. So I had taught accounting, and then had gone on after leaving banking. Had become
Sorry, I swear it's gonna end right now. Stop. Nobody can answer.
you've got to edit, right?
I gotta edit that. Well, let's. Okay, we're good now. It's stopped
We'll
finally.
do-
Okay.
We'll do however we want.
Yes.
Okay. So after I had completed my banking career,
Yes.
I became an independent business consultant,
Okay.
and in the process of doing that, I acquired a small business which sold stucco and cement and building products on the west side of El Paso called Sunset Supply.
Very cool.
Yeah, and
a worker bee, huh?
Yeah, the thing of it is that it was always a challenge to keep up with the inventories and such for the business. And computers were just becoming the new fad and so forth. So I got involved with an Apple II computer, and I got some software. There was the precursor to Excel, and Lotus 1-2-3 was a product called VisiCalc. And we actually programmed in a language for MS-DOS called Edlin, which was a line editor and so forth. The long and the short of it was I discovered that it was a lot more fun to work with the software side of it than to unload sacks of cement.
Okay.
So I sold the company, and I had, in the process, had bought software and got what they call the source code.
Okay.
And so I took the source code and took the program apart, put it back together, and taught myself to program by doing that. And it was quite a lot of fun and a challenge. And so it used a product called DBase, and there are files that are used in millions of applications. They call them legacy files that are called database files. They have a suffix of .dbf. There's a .txt, txt, and a .doc and so forth. Anyway, these data files. And so in the process of doing that, I thought I wanted to write a program that would teach accounting. And I did so, and it was available for installation on a PC. You took what they called an executable file and installed the software on your computer. And it came to a point that people really didn't want to install things. They wanted to access it on the internet. And so in doing that, I was able to find a young man in Pakistan who did freelance consulting, and I hired him, and I taught him accounting, and he taught me programming, and we developed what was initially a site called learnaccounting.app. And it was successful, but we found that the real challenge for people is getting past the basic understanding of accounting, debits and credits. Those concepts can be very, very difficult to comprehend. It's like any other skill, perhaps music. Some people are musically inclined. Other people, they know two songs. The national anthem and not the national anthem.
Right.
And so what we tried to do was to make the accounting kindergarten teach accounting at a simplified level. Most of our individuals are not kindergartners, obviously. They're successful business people, and we don't mean to demean their understanding, ability, age, or anything like that. But we've taken it down to simple concepts in order to try to get past that blockage of understanding what it is. And so we've got essentially, when you go to our site, you can enroll into what we call the accounting pre-K. And there are 14 lessons in the accounting pre-K. And if possible today, we'll go through some of those lessons and just see how that maybe can be on a more basic, understandable level.
And how simple it is, so that way they can go on, do it at home themselves, and spread the word, because this is something everybody needs to know.
Right. And what we recommend to people, even we find that the next step in business growth is getting help from a lender or somebody that might want to invest or give a grant to a growing business. And the basis for that in evaluation is the financial statements of the business. And frequently people are told, well, bring us your financial statements, and they hit a roadblock because
Right.
they don't know even what that concept means. And even worse than that, Annie, is that oftentimes people are encouraged to get an accountant or a bookkeeper, and they do so and hire, and then they turn all of their business affairs over to that individual without an understanding, and they end up being the subject of embezzlement or misappropriation of their funds, and before they know it, they're out of business.
Right.
So we recommend that even though the people may not be directly involved in financial accounting transactions, they understand what the basis of it is behind the logic of it and so forth. And I personally recommend that every business owner use a checking account. A lot of people like cash and so forth, and oftentimes it's, well, if we work in cash, then we're not subject to taxes and things like that. Well, if you're really going to have a growing, successful business, you got to deal with that. And also, I recommend that every business owner sign every check that his company issues and know what the reason for every expenditure is.
Great tip.
And that will unlock much of the mysteries. Now it can be time consuming and so forth, but
It's important.
it's very important.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Awesome.
So
Well, let's dig into these little piggies.
let's do it.
All
Let's do it.
right. What do we have here?
What we've got here is the concept of kindergartners. Just like when we're going to kindergarten, we need to organize our toys.
Yes.
And we got to put them in different containers and keep them organized and so forth. Well, accounting, we do the same thing.
Okay.
We've got essentially 5 categories of items in a business that we need to be able to organize. We call these assets, liabilities, owner's equities, revenue, and expenses. Now, assets are things that we as a business own.
Okay.
Examples would be our cash, our inventory, our vehicles, our building, and so forth.
Right.
Now, liabilities are considered to be things that we owe to other people.
Okay.
And normally these are to third parties. And these would be things like loans payable to the banks, my loan payable to my uncle who loaned me the money
Right.
to get started in the business, and so forth. We also have money that we owe to the owners of the business, and that's the owner's equity section. And this is owed to ourselves as the owners, or to the owners of the business if it's not us personally.
Okay.
Now, there are things in accounting that we need to account for, activities that raise cash and require cash. Activities that generate cash are called revenues, and these are things like sales, income from fees or services, and these are the items that generate cash in our business. Now, the expenses are the things that require cash in the operation of our business,
Okay.
and these are things like salaries, rent, office supplies, accounting fees, legal fees, and so forth.
Like
So-
overhead, does that go in there?
Overhead is essentially a component of expense. And the term overhead generally means it's an ongoing expense whether you have activity or not. So rent would be an example of expense and could be classified as overhead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Learning already.
So going further into our second lesson on accounting, there's a basic principle that assets equal liabilities and owner's equity. And basically that means that everything that we own is owed to somebody else,
Okay.
either to third parties or to our owners. And the equation that assets must equal liabilities plus owner's equity means that they must balance each other. So the assets are in balance with the liabilities and owner's equity. Now, those items, assets, liabilities, and owner's equity, are shown on a financial statement called the balance sheet.
Okay.
And so, because assets equal liabilities and owner's equity, that's where we get the balance sheet.
Okay.
Now, the other components of accounting would be the revenue and expense component, and the items in revenue would be that which we receive from sales and other things that we charge for, and then the expenses are things that we pay out in the normal course of business.
Okay.
The revenues and expenses, the net result is shown on what's called the profit and loss statement.
Yeah, I've heard of all these things,
Yes.
but it's like, what?
Well, they interact with each other in that assets, liabilities, and owner equity balance sheet.
Okay.
And then revenue and expense are the profit and loss. So that's the profit.
Okay.
Okay. So if we've got these different categories, we make a distinction by giving our little piggies different color on our piggy banks here. But in practice, what we do is that we assign them different account numbers. And so every accounting system is a little different, but in ours, we show that assets are a series 1000, liabilities 2000, owner's equity 3000, revenue expenses 4000. Revenue 4,000 and expenses 5,000. So these become the account numbers for the various accounts within.
Okay.
So if we look at in detail, here are our assets, and each of our piggies in the asset category has a sub number. So we might have categories such as cash on hand, cash in the bank, payroll account,
Right.
cash, inventory, accounts receivable, etc.
Everything has its own code.
That's right. And so those things that we own, which are assets, and those shown here, and it's not limited to these, but things that we own, like cash and checking, our inventory, our equipment, and so forth, are assets, and they carry a sub number for the assets.
Okay.
Likewise, when we get into liabilities, then the liabilities will have their own sub account number.
Okay.
And we have accounts payable and sales taxes payable and notes payable to family and others and so forth. And then going further, we've got the owner's equity section, which is that liability that we owe to the business owners.
Okay.
And there are a couple of distinct categories here. One is called capital accounts, and this is basically the investment that the owners has made to start up the business. Surplus is kind of a specialized term used in larger businesses that has a portion of the capital that is restricted in some ways. But surplus would be considered a part of owner's equity. And then retained earnings is the result of prior profit and losses that we've had. And so if we've got a prior profit, it adds to the plus of the owner's equity in what we call retained earnings. And if there were losses suffered, then they would become part of a loss total in
The profit and loss.
the profit and loss. If it's a net loss, it is transferred into the owner's capital section and shown as retained earnings. So let's say we started our business with an investment of $1,000, and the first couple of months, we had more expenses than we had revenues, so we lost $300, we'll say. So now what we've got is we've got a minus $300 retained earnings. Our original capital was 1,000 minus the 300. Now our business is only worth 700. Now in the future we can make more revenues and grow that number and so forth. Now in the sub accounts for this is revenue sub accounts, and each of the individual sub accounts would be detailed through there for revenue sources. Now our expenses, frequently we have a significantly larger number of accounting expenses, and we do that so that in the process of reviewing and analyzing our business transactions, we can identify where those monies were actually spent.
Yes.
And then we can see whether we've got efficient use of our monies by analyzing them in sufficient detail.
Okay.
Now, having gone into the 5 categories of assets, liabilities, owner's equity, revenue, and expense, we come to the biggest stumbling block that people have with accounting. It's called debits and credits. And debits and credits are a term that have no particular meaning in and of themselves. They are assigned characteristics based upon what type of an account they are.
Okay.
But essentially, when we post transactions, we must post debits and credits that total the same amount. So that when we post a transaction in an account, we have a debit side of the transaction and a credit side of a transaction. And the total debits for any given transaction must equal the total credits, just like we had the here I'll give you an example.
Please.
We're going to start our business by depositing $1,000 in our bank account. So cash is an asset, and we would issue a debit to increase that cash of $1,000. Now, offsetting that $1,000, we've got a liability or owner's equity that supports that. Let's say that we borrowed $500 from Uncle Frank, and we had $500 cash that we put in the business ourselves. So the credit side would also be the 500 each to Uncle Frank and to my owner's equity account.
Okay.
And so those two would equal $1,000. The cash equals $1,000. They would fee $500 in the liability section owed to Uncle Frank, and $500 in the capital section, which would be my investment in the business. And so every account has a debit side and a credit side. And in looking at that, we have accounts that have a normal balance of debit and accounts that have a normal balance of credit. Okay? Now, we have what is called the normal balance side, which would be in the case on the left, the normal balance side is the debit, and the opposite balance is a credit. And we can make that a little clearer on this example by showing that assets and expense, Let me see. I missed a slide here. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So when we're dealing with our little piggies, we notice that some of the piggies are facing left and some are facing right. And the ones that face left are the assets and the expense. And we've referred to them as AX, A and X for expense. So the assets and the expense face left, and they act the same way with respect to debits and credits. Liabilities, owner's equity, and revenue face to the right, and we call them LEE, L-E-E, liabilities, the owner's equity and revenue, and they face to the right. So when we look at debits and credits, AX, assets and expense, are facing to the left, the piggies, and liabilities, owner's equity, and revenue are facing to the right.
Okay.
So the assets and expenses have face left, and they have a normal balance of debit, which is the left side of the T account. The liabilities, owner's equity, and revenue face to the right, and they have a normal balance of a credit and an opposite balance of debit. So essentially what we've got is, if we can think in terms of the piggies and which way they face, each account has what we call a T account within it, which is a T, bar at the top, and a space down the middle. The left side is always the debit side, and the right side is always the credit side. So if the piggy's facing left, the debit side is the one that controls, because he's facing left, debit's on the left. On the other side, we've got the liabilities, owner's equity, and revenues. He's facing right, and so the credit is the normal side.
Okay.
And so essentially what we have in our tutorial and so forth is we have a way to teach you how to create this cheat sheet. We go through it step by step, but essentially we're going to divide it in a left and right side, and the left side of the page is going to be the normal balance increase side. The right side is going to be the opposite balance decrease side. And then by placing the debits and credits, we can look at this and see if we want to increase a liability, we know that we must credit it.
Okay.
And so forth. So it takes a little bit of redundancy to go through this time and again and so forth. But after someone has taken the time to go through this, what we provide them is an opportunity to register, and in doing so, they receive through an email that we confirm, that it's somebody, it's a real person, not a bot out there on the internet, and they can then actually enter transactions in what we call the general journal, the cash receipts journal, and the cash disbursements journal. And then, having made those entries, we can show them the resultant financial statements, the balance sheet, the profit and loss statement, and the income and expense.
Wow. That's awesome. Very cool. And again, where do they go to get this awesome information?
accountingkindergarten.com.
I love it. Doyle, did we go over everything? Is there anything else that we want to mention?
I would like to point out a couple of other little things that I'm involved in and so forth. I mentioned to you that we've got a class rewards program in effect, and we're currently working with Bobby Joe Hill School in the Northeast and LaFay Preparatory School.
Okay.
And essentially what this is, and we will make it available to other schools if they find it to be advantageous to them
Mm-hmm.
in their program. Essentially, what it is, and it's aimed at middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And teachers in the school can award merit points to individual students for certain types of conduct, whether it's attendance, participation, leadership, safety,
Mm-hmm.
different things that they do. And the teachers grant rewards, points to these individuals. The individuals then can redeem the points based upon what the values that their school place on it, on how many points are required for certain things.
Okay.
Things included like assemblies, refreshments at assemblies. One of the most popular things, and certainly at Bobby Joe Hill, is that they wear school uniforms. And if a student has a certain number of points, they're able to do what they call free dress Friday
Mm-hmm.
and not wear their uniform to school. So they can wear all their cool sports clothes and everything that's in fashion and so forth. And the other kids said, well, how did you do that? And they said, well, I had enough points. Well, how do I earn points? And so it's a motivating factor for, for positive performance and so forth. The really key thing is that each student receives an individualized QR code. And that QR code can be scanned, and it gives a report of the status of their points. They can share that with their parents, their grandmother, and so forth. And so it's been very well received. And I would encourage anybody that's interested in that to get in touch with me.
Absolutely.
And
how? Yeah, I was going to tell you, how do they reach out to you?
My company is called Data Basics Systems.
Okay.
And the crazy thing here's my logo, and it goes back. I say, I've been in business since 1985. The colors are kind of retro 80s thing.
I love it.
But that's when we started.
That's right.
And so forth. So I'm on the web at databasics.net, and my contact, my cell phone, everything's on there, and I really would be happy to support anybody that might want to have a class rewards or any other customized software that we do.
That's so cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in today and helping educate everybody on, just the basics of accounting and trying to, figure it all out, the different terms and so forth. It's overwhelming, just money in general and organizing that and funds and banking and all that. So this is a really cool tutorial on what they can get on the extended version when they go online. So I'll go on and I'll post the website link. Reach out again to databasicsystems.net, and you can go on and get Doyle's information. So you can go on and also reach out to him if you're interested in that rewards program with the schools. Do we cover everything?
I think so.
Oh, I love it. Awesome.
Great.
Let me turn this camera around and give a sponsor shout out. Look at this beautiful studio, Matt.
Oh, yes.
Star City Studios, thank you for always allowing me to have a space in your home to do this awesome weekly show. I literally couldn't do it without you, so thank you so much. El Paso Family Dental, thanks for the new smile. I highly encourage, if you guys have ever wondered if aligners are right for you, check it out. It's not for everybody. They also do regular braces, but you have to go and get checked out to see if it's the right fit. So go make your appointments. They are family dental, so you can schedule your summer checkups, everything. Reach out to El Paso Family Dental and tell them I sent you. Viva La Mocha and El Paso Zoo Society. There's still time to sign up for those summer camps with the El Paso Zoo Society. If you guys need any printing, Viva La Mocha, tell them I sent you. Thank you for going local. If you guys want to feature your business on Annie's Adventures, just reach out to me. We'll schedule that. But pretty simple. Remember, I work at Leo Marketing, Leo Marketing. We are a local full-service marketing agency here in El Paso, Texas. If you have a business and you're interested in taking it to the next level, reach out to me and I'd love to help you do that. We're full service. We can help you with everything from brokering deals for TV, radio, billboard, print, and online streaming at no cost to you to use us to negotiate and broker on your behalf. We can also help you with social media marketing. Video production is huge for us. We have our own video production studio and video rental equipment company within Leo Marketing. Graphic design, photography, SEO, SEM, branding, a community outreach, PR, everything and anything. We can help you under one roof. And again, we are local, so we completely understand the manana market. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for going local as much as possible. If you guys are interested, oh my goodness, we have this crazy fire going on in Rio Doso. They have a lot of donation opportunities. Reach out to me if you're interested in finding out about more. And we just got to take care of each other. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.